Hola, ¿cómo están, my compañeros? Let me show you this Congressional Research Service report that was written here only a few days ago. It talks about COVID-19 vaccination, selected U.S. data sources. The data sources, it says it is not a comprehensive, this is not intended to be comprehensive. Additional sources may be added in future updates because different resources use different methodologies. The methodologies that they're allowed to examine, that the Congress and staffers are being directed towards, are commercial sources of information in the CDC, but the CDC is an independent federal agency. That's not a federal agency, that's an independent federal agency. There's a little bit different. The non-CDC sources, I was shocked to see Bloomberg and Kaiser Family Foundation. You know that Kaiser Family Foundation is associated in the same family that has constructed Kaiser Permanente Healthcare? So they're asking the insurance companies to tell us how sick we are so we can give money to the insurance companies. I wanted to point this out and leave it in the description. I'll ask you to please check it out. This other product right here was written last year, May of 2020. And it is very honest. It is very honest. It talks about considering the source, varieties of COVID-19 information. 2020, that was during the election, so President Trump was still in office at this current time. Propaganda definitions. There is no commonly accepted definition for what constitutes propaganda. To some, it connotes the spread of false information from a governmental source intended to have a persuasive effect. For others, propaganda is merely any promotional effort related to an organization, both public and commercial. For purposes of this discussion, propaganda is defined as intentional propagation of an idea or narrative in order to influence and persuade a target audience. Although it may contain factual information, propaganda is intended to persuade rather than to merely inform. By this definition, an organization or government communicating its intent, policies, and values through speeches, press releases, and other public affairs can be considered propaganda. Some forms of propaganda present selective information that is intended to manage perceptions of the truth. Other forms may be unverifiable rhetorical devices such as slogans, illustrations, editorials, and opinion pieces that lack factual content. These communications can create perceptions that affect behavior and steer decision makers towards a certain course of action. It's going to go on. This is an extremely interesting article, but I'm going to skip down to COVID-19 the COVID-19 information case, COVID-19 and propaganda. In large part, propaganda efforts center on controlling the narrative around the origin of the virus and management of the outbreak. Chinese and Russian media manipulation, for example, has exploited uncertainties in the origins of the COVID-19, encouraging conspiracy theories of the origin of the coronavirus as deliberately engineered creation brought to China by the United States rather than being a naturally occurring phenomenon. Other state-sponsored propaganda places a positive spin on the government's positive crisis response, participation in global relief efforts, and the ability to contain infectious rates compared with other nations. This is often aided by suppression of information that complicates a preferred narrative. This is everything. This is so close to how they are. I will read the last paragraph. In times of crisis, government and citizen decision-making requires timely information. Cyber attackers can capitalize on the need using cyber tools to suppress information on a large scale, gain intelligence, and compromise users' devices. One attack method is to implant malware in factual sources, such as government websites and trusted viral information materials. Another method is to target the platforms of producers and disseminators of information through the attack that inhibits access to these resources. That's what they do to YouTube. I'm sorry to get excited. For example, recent report denial of service attacks on the Department of Health and Human Service public-facing website would have been intended to suppress information flow on COVID-19. Such attack may have other effects, such as undermining sources' credibility and eroding trust in an otherwise accurate source of information. These two articles are extremely interesting. I just wanted to share them.